Chris, how are you doing? Yeah, very excited. I need to tell you we've got a number of visitors.
Okay.
Apart from the girls, we've got Mrs. Welcomut. Wait, where's Mrs. Welcomut? You can wave. There we go. And we've got Miss Tudhope. And then we also have someone who's come from an organisation called SchoolNet. It's professional. Fiona, how would you describe it? Professional teachers.
It's an NGO that works with teacher training.
An NGO that works with teacher training, and they're very excited about this project, so they've come to have a look. So it's all hip and happening.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I've got some exciting news too. So next to me are Laura and Kim.
Hi, Laura. Hi, Kim.
Yeah, so this is Laura. That's Kim.
Okay. Hi there. Right. So should we hand over to you?
Yeah. Great. Thanks. Well, I brought hi girls. I brought Laura and Kim for you to. They've had a look at your email, some of the questions. So I don't know if you guys want to start. Asking some of the questions that you have about the Meerkat project.
Do you want to start with questions, or do you need to say anything that you want to get in? Because once they start asking, you'll find it hard to get a word in edgeways.
Just ask the question.
Okay, right. So we're going to start with questions. Isabella, come to. Isabella? Okay, who else wants to go? Right, okay. I'm just going to try and see if you can hear them from where they're sitting. So they're going to attempt. Just let us know what the sound's like. Just stay there, Olivia, and just shout your question.
Okay, well, why are governments putting so much money in? Do you have any proof that you're going to find something?
Could you hear the question?
Yes, why are governments putting so much money in? Do we have any proof that we can find something?
Yes. Yes, they're wondering why governments are willing to give up money. They feel there must be something there that can be found.
Well, it's one of the, this project is one of the biggest science projects in the whole world. So, have you guys heard of the Large Hadron Collider in Europe, where they look for different types of weird particles?
You're getting some yeses.
Yeah.
So what it is it's this massive science project, and they're trying to look for weird types of particles. So governments also put a lot of money into that, and that's probably the biggest science project in the world at the moment. And they're going to find out all sorts of new things that we have no other way of discovering. So it's such a big project because we have no other way of discovering those types of things. So we have to put lots of money into it, employ tons of people, lots of scientists and engineers, and they're going to come up with amazing science that they can't come up with in any other way. And it's the same with the Meerkat and the SKA. So there's no other way really to do the things that we want to do and to answer the questions we want to answer, except for this massive project. And that's why governments want to do it, because these big science questions that we're going to answer, we don't really have another way to answer them, so we have to do it in this massive project. And I'll leave to Kim what those questions are and why they're important.
Well, first, I think we must address the other part of the question is, do we have any proof that we will find things? And we do have proof that we'll find things, because the SKA is really just doing what we've already done on a bigger way. So we know what we can already see, and therefore we know what we'll see when we do this project bigger and better. And it's also important to remember that there's a lot of prestige that comes with making these kinds of scientific discoveries, which is why governments want to invest in it, number one. And then there's a lot of development. People are building things, they're spending money, that brings good things to the economy, and it also helps to develop really good scientists and good brains, which is also good for the economy long term as well. So that's another reason why governments want to do it. And in terms of the kinds of things that we want to discover, there are a whole bunch of different science projects, but the ones that are the most important are, we want to understand what dark energy is. Do any of you know about dark energy yet?
One hand.
One hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hands.
You guys are really well prepared. Well, for those of you who don't know what dark energy is, when you look at the universe, we see that all the galaxies and stars and things are moving apart from each other very quickly, and we don't understand why that is. Something is pushing things apart in the universe. And so we call it dark energy because we don't know what that thing is. And so one of the big projects we want to do is to try and understand that. And to do that, we need to look far into the past at lots and lots of galaxies in really good detail to understand this process of it being pushed apart. The other thing we want to look at is things to do with Einstein's theory of general relativity. So that's a theory of gravity, and we're going to try and test that out. And we also want to look very, very far back into the past to try and look at the very first galaxies that were formed and to see how that happened. Do you guys have questions about that?
Right, any questions about that? Yes, Jordan.
What is Einstein's theory of relativity?
There we go. We have touched on it, that there is this thing called Einstein's theory of relativity, but if you could just elaborate, or in child-friendly terms, perhaps. Try to sum up 3 years of science.
We have a demonstration plan. We are naughties, right? So we have in the old-fashioned, we all know what gravity is, right? It's the thing that makes objects fall down, and it's a theory that says that objects are attracted to each other.
Got
Do you
that?
guys know that?
Yes.
Okay, so in the old theory of gravity, the idea that objects are attracted to each other is because there's a force between them. There's some invisible thing that's pulling them together. That's the gravity force. But Einstein's theory of relativity is a little bit different, and I have a blanket we can show with. I don't know how well it will show up in the picture. We'll try.
But, yep.
Well, I'll leave that for you. Alright, so in Einstein's theory of relativity, objects don't move together because there's a force. It's because a big object makes the space bend, right? So if you imagine this blanket as space, we put a big object in there, and now it bends.
Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Yes.
You see the blanket is dipping in.
Yes, very clearly.
Okay, so now if there's an object here, and I let go, it moves towards the heavy object. Do you see that? And that's what Einstein's theory of relativity says. It says objects move towards each other, not because of the force, but because the space is bent.
Okay. That's a nice demo.
Do you have more questions?
Right, who's next? Okay, Emma, shout.
Do you believe there's life in space?
Do we believe there's life in space?
Oh, you go ahead.
It's a good question, and actually one of the science questions that the SK is going to look at is to see if there's life in space, and there are also even other telescopes looking to see. So far we haven't seen anything, and space is pretty big, so we haven't looked very far. If there was life somewhere else in space, it would have to be giving off some kind of radiation that we could see for us to know that it was there. So maybe imagine if there was another planet somewhere out in space with people like us, what we would look for is we'd look for the radiation from their cell phones or their TVs or whatever. So the chance that we see something that's out there is actually quite small. So the only way that we can try and look and see if there is something out there is just by carrying on looking and seeing if we can see these kinds of signals. But at the moment we really just have no way of knowing because we haven't seen anything yet. But what is interesting is in the past few years they've found a whole lot more planets. So we used to think that planets maybe were quite rare, that not that many stars have planets. But now more and more stars we're seeing planets around, and now I think it's even more. We think that most stars have planets. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah. So places that there could be life there are more of them, but whether or not there is life or not, we don't know. Did Kim go away?
No, that's